What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video, I'm bringing you the new all-everything build for Warlock. Last season, I finally did a showcase of the Getaway Artist Bleakwatcher build. It basically took the community by storm when Prismatic launched with Final Shape, and that is because it's an extremely effective and versatile build with huge ability uptime and great ease of use. I recently made a video talking about young Ahamkara's spine, and the gist of it boils down to that build not being very good because the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You have too many hoops to jump through for too little payoff. Where with the Getaway Artist build, it is the opposite. You get a massive payoff for basically no investment. You just hold Grenade and you get a Bleakwatcher which can slow and freeze enemies, allowing it to deal with 2 champion types on its own. And then you also get an Arc Turret Buddy to help you deal with enemies, and on top of this, you get Amplified and Devour if you get an ability kill, allowing you to keep your grenade up almost constantly, and it gives you all your health back every time you get a kill. It's just an insanely powerful build. So you're probably wondering, why am I a minute into this video and this guy hasn't even talked about the build I clicked on? Well, I wanted to give some context before I start this video. Every once in a while, a build comes along that basically plays the game for you. Necrotic Grip on Strand with Mindspun Invocation and Osteostriga was the first build like this back when Lightfall came out. A build so strong, it actually made the game boring. As a result, I didn't even enjoy running it. Same with the Getaway Artist build. It took me so long to make a build on it because I honestly just never played with it. It was too OP. But I did want the most OP build going into the first ever contest mode dungeon, which is why I showcased it right before Vesper's Host released. And so now I am doing the same thing with this build. When Episode Revenant launched, I farmed a Rimecoat Raiment, made a build, and I took it through 1 Team GM and 1 Expert Onslaught, and I immediately knew it was the new king of the Warlock builds. In my opinion, it is just as good or better than the Getaway Artist build, but it works in much the same fashion. You get a ton of payoff for very little investment. So let's break down the ins and outs of this build so you can understand why it's so good. It centers around the exotic Rimecoat Raiment, which has the exotic perk Bleak Domain. Your Bleakwatcher turrets are enhanced with extended range and are surrounded by stasis crystals in a storm. While standing in the storm, you are granted icicles over time. Icicles activate when you fire your weapons, applying slow to targets that they hit. So while the icicle effect that they provide is neat and powerful in its own right, you don't actually want to use your Bleakwatcher in this way. You don't want to stand next to it. Rather, you want to chuck out your Bleakwatcher into groups of enemies. The crystals that form can freeze enemies, and then you can destroy those crystals for massive AoE damage. This is the true power of this build. The Bleakwatcher you throw has great damage potential, and the Bleakwatcher itself is enhanced. And what is so strong about this is if you get a ton of enemies down in 1 Crystal Shatter, you can fill up your whole Darkness Transcendence near instantly. And you can keep chucking out grenades thanks to our first aspect, Feed the Void, aka Devour. Defeat a target with any ability to activate Devour. And then getting kills while Devour is active grants you full health and gives you grenade energy based on the tier the combatant killed. Well, when you shatter those crystals, that can activate Devour, and then the whole engine is running. So you just need to get 1 ability kill, and then you are getting your health back and grenade energy back constantly. Obviously, the other aspect is Bleakwatcher because it has to be, so this gives us 5 fragment slots to work with, and these take the build to the next level. First, you want Facet of Ruin. Increase the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target, and it increases the AoE of solar ignitions as well. So this just amplifies the free shattering that we're constantly doing. And if you run the best super in the game in Song of Flame, then you can also get bigger ignitions as well in your super. The next most important one is Facet of Dawn. This gives you Radiant when you deal damage with a powered melee. Radiant did get a slight nerf from 25% to 20%, but this is still very strong. And it gives you anti-barrier rounds when you're Radiant, so just with our grenade and melee, this build can handle all 3 champion types. And we of course want to pair this with the Arcane Needle melee, of which we get 3 charges. These melees are amazing because you can use them at great range and they unravel targets, allowing for more damage and damage over time. So we are getting dot damage from both our melee and our Bleakwatcher, and I've spoken in many videos about how strong damage over time is. Next is Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy, rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. This just gives us even more ability uptime, which is extremely powerful. Facet of Devotion is next. Defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs grants bonus light transcendence energy. Basically, everything we kill is hit by unravel or slow, so we get massive uptime on this, and this helps us build transcendence more quickly, and transcendence is incredibly busted. And then the last one I like to run is Facet of Hope, but this is optional. It gives you quicker class ability regen when you have an elemental buff, and you basically have permanent Devour with this build. I pair this with healing rifts usually, so you're getting your rift back extremely quickly. Now, most artifacts usually have some way of debuffing enemies. Last season we had Concussive Reload, but if you needed a form of weaken, then I would recommend running Facet of Dominance. This allows your Arc Grenades to apply Jolt and your Void Grenades to apply Weaken. This also works with our Transcendence Grenade, so depending on the content and your loadout, this is a great pick and well worth running. It is just situationally and artifact mod dependent. And speaking of grenades, most people run this with healing grenades. This is smart as it is a form of survivability if you get caught in a pinch, but I ran it with storm grenades and people were telling me healing is better because you get a quicker cooldown. And this is only somewhat true. When running the Bleakwatcher aspect, it overrides your grenade cooldown to be a base cooldown of 2 minutes and 1 second, whether you run a healing grenade or not. However, a long time ago, Bungie made a change to things like Innervation, which refunds grenade energy on orb pickup. This will grant more grenade energy if you have healing grenades equipped than it will with storm grenades, and that's because healing has a shorter base cooldown. So I just wanted to clear that up. So the best grenade to run is still healing, but not for the reasons that many people think. And in 99% of cases, you are going to be using your grenade as a Bleakwatcher. But in the off chance you want to run storm grenades and Facet of Dominance, then you can do that too. You could chuck out a Bleakwatcher and get Devour, slay out, and then get your grenade back super quickly and use it offensively to jolt targets. Or you could pair this with a Vortex Grenade to weaken targets. It's very niche, but I did want to talk about how you don't have to run healing grenades with this build. Onto mods, it's very simple. On the helmet, you want Siphon mods and Heavy Ammo Finder. The glove mods are the most important. Because you get so many grenades, you want Bolstering Detonation and Momentum Transfer to give class ability and melee energy whenever you deal damage with your Bleakwatcher. There is a bit of an internal cooldown, but this does still work. And then you want Impact Induction to give grenade energy when you deal damage with a melee. Again, you are getting lots of melees with Arcane Needles and Transcendence, so this will help the ability spam even more. Resistances is just whatever the activity calls for. On the legs, you want Absolution to reduce all ability cooldowns when you pick up an Orb of Power, and then Invigoration and Innervation for a chunk of melee and grenade energy when you pick up an orb. And depending on your build and what's going on, you could swap out Invigoration for an Ammo Scavenger of your choosing. Then on the class item, Bomber and Outreach for a chunk of grenade and melee energy when you cast your Rift, and then anything else you want. Distribution is decent, but you do have to be surrounded by adds, and this build usually plays at range, and you could also do Reaper or Powerful Attraction or Special Finisher. The choice is yours. For stats, 100 Resilience and then high Discipline and Recovery. For weapons, literally anything. The beauty of this build is it shines with any loadout. But like I said, you are typically playing at range, so it's great with things like Wishender or Revision Zero or Outbreak Perfected. But I have ran this build with a shotgun as well, and it worked great. I'm not including artifact mods because this build doesn't need any to make it great. And if there are some artifact mods that apply to this build in the future, then I trust that I've taught my audience enough to think for themselves and choose what is right. And that is it for the video. This is truly a jack of all trades build with basically no downsides. It thrives in all types of content and will be great for years to come. Thanks for watching, and if you're still here, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Hey, if you're still here, then thanks so much for watching to the end. If you like what I do and you want to support me further, then consider becoming a channel member. You'll get your name featured on the end screen, custom badges, and other cool rewards. You can also join my community Discord if that interests you, and if you want to see me stream, be sure to follow me on Twitch at itstizzle7 where I stream semi-regularly. Those are linked in the description. Anyways, that's enough self-promotion. Thanks for watching. Take care.